And here we come, Sossusvlei.
After a spectacular time in the Namtib biosphere, we were packed and ready to tackle an epic 250-kilometer day of driving. Our destination for the day would be Sossus Oasis in the town of Sesriem. This would be our base camp for exploring Sossusvlei. This series of Roam Overlanding is presented in partnership with Garmin and supported by cross-country insurance consultants, Bushtec aluminium canopies, Jackery South Africa, and Easyon. Saying goodbye to Namtib was difficult. We just wished we could have stayed longer. But we had quite the drive ahead of us and we had to get going because our next adventure awaited us.
Looks like in the next 15 or so k's there should be a nice little pull-off. We can get some chow, have a break from driving and soak in the scenery a bit.
Our daily lunch stops were now part of the experience, giving us a bit of time to also be present in a place for a while, instead of just blasting through. So we tried to find nice little spots to have a pit stop along the way.
So the back right tyre is now 1.9 bar after lunch. That's 0.4 bar underneath the back left, and they were both the same. So definitely the second we're stationary, the tyre starts losing pressure.
Hopefully the problem with the tyres would resolve itself soon, because we were still over 500 kilometers away from a big town.
These gravel roads are not as nice as the southern Namibian gravel roads.
Who wants to spend the whole day in a grader up here?
Sure, the landscapes were harsh, and the roads weren't as smooth as before, but my word, the scenery just went to another level. And despite the rougher conditions, the vehicles were eating up the kilometers.
Well then, I guess welcome to Sesriem, and this looks like tar. My word, this is gonna feel weird. Oh, so smooth. And here's our camp to the side here, Sossus Oasis. So we've arrived at Sossus Oasis. It doesn't seem like much when you look at it, but each of these campsites actually has their own little shower, their own little toilet, their own little basin and everything. There's a swimming pool. It's actually quite cool. Out of all of the places we've been, we haven't had anything like this. So it's actually going to be quite a nice little change. So we're going to get out our camping chairs, we're going to get our tables out, and we're going to sit out under here and probably go have a swim. There's a little store there where you can get fuel, you can get firewood, ice creams, all sorts of stuff. So I think we'll just chill out. Tomorrow morning, nice and early, we're going to head into Sossusvlei. So I think we are due for a bit of a rest. We've had a wild push the past few days, so I think it'll be nice to just take it easy for a bit. Anyways, let's get unpacking.
This would be another spot where we would be setting up for 2 nights. This meant we could take the afternoon to catch up on some much needed housekeeping. And the less time we spend driving means we need to charge more via solar to keep the jackeries topped up. We would also finally get to do some laundry, which was amazing. And to me, the difference between overlanding and camping is that when you're overlanding, you get to use a tow strap as a washing line.
That's what we've done so far. Doesn't even look like that much. We'll go here.
Because we were staying multiple days, the dads decided to set up their tents at the camp instead. Although I must say that we have been able to comfortably sleep 2 big adult men in the rooftop tents without any hassles. It's just still nice to have your own space for a couple nights too. When it comes to our camp cooking, we've been trying to eat normally. So still finding and making vegetables every night was important. And that's because eating properly on a trip like this is essential. We have long, busy days and 5 hungry men to feed, so we made sure to eat like kings.
Well, that's a fun start to the morning. Tyre's sitting at 0.4 bar. Luckily we're going onto thick sand today, so having a bit of a lower tire pressure is not too bad. But what we're going to do is we're going to pump it up and we're just going to have to monitor it for now. If it really becomes an issue later, we'll stop and we'll change the tire. But we still can't figure out what it is. We'll just have to see. But anyways, it's a really early morning to try and get to the Sossusvlei this morning to try and catch as much of the sunrise as possible. I hear it's incredibly beautiful, so everyone's pretty much packed up. We got coffee in the flasks and we're ready to go. So let's get going.
Okay, Sossusvlei, here we come.
Our drive into Sossusvlei would be 30 kilometers. 30 kilometers of the most epic scenery I have ever seen. From when we had left Aus a couple days ago, we had driven 340 kilometers along the Namib desert to get to Sesriem. And we were only halfway across the Namib. The scale is incredible. And what we see of the red rolling dunes here is just a pinch of salt in the sea of sand. And soon, the tar would end, and we would be driving through that sea of sand. The first of our stops for the morning would be the infamous Deadvlei. It's said that 700 years ago, a massive dust storm shifted the dunes and cut it off from its natural water source, leaving it to die. But it's so hot and so dry that the trees that once grew here cannot rot, so they stand here for us today.
So this is the Deadvlei. This is one of Namibia's bucket list destinations. It's just an absolute photographer's paradise. But it is also just insanely desolate and insanely beautiful. Just take a look around. I think we're going to spend a good amount of time here soaking in the scenery before we make our way over to Sossusvlei. I can't wait to get cracking on our day. It's a beautiful early morning still. We've got to have some coffee, got to have a bit of breakfast and go and check out Sossusvlei. Let's enjoy now though.
I've dreamed of coming here for years, and finally, here we are. But I realized that the energy of this place spoke to everyone in different ways, each person finding their own way around the Deadvlei.
I know you want to do this, Andy.
But honestly, to be able to be here with my dad and my uncle was a really special experience. And we got to chat about all sorts of things that you just don't get to do in normal life. Quality time like this is worth gold. And the Deadvlei is something that will live with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a trek.
As you go around the corner, there's a bit of a valley there.
Yeah.
And we went Up the valley there. I needed your camera.
And you guys must enjoy the trip.
Yeah.
Have a safe journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You too. Awesome. Cheers.
Okay, so we figured out what the leak was, and it's actually the tire pressure monitor must have been hit by a stone or something when we were driving, and it kind of came apart a little bit, and then I quickly put it back together, and I didn't realize that maybe I didn't put it back together properly. So hopefully that means our tire situation is no longer a tire situation. So we've managed to figure that out. So now air down a bit more for the thick sand, and let's go check out Sossus. We're just gonna settle down, have a little bit of lunch, or brunch, breakfast, whatever it is. And then we're gonna go and have a walk over and go and see Sossusvlei. Thought it might be nice to see it in the middle of the day. But apparently it's still got water in it, so it'll be interesting to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, I think we've walked up a good brunch is in order. Let's get going.
We had brought a bunch of different foods with us from home, and had basically just been eating vegetables and braaivleis. So we decided to cook up a massive continental feast. We had cheeses and olives and pickles and avocados, eggs and toast. It was epic. And you can't believe that we carried all of this stuff with us for a week. You've got to love overlanding vehicles. They're really made for this stuff.
This is a special place to have breakfast.
A special place indeed, but we didn't come here to eat. We had to go and check out the Sossusvlei, which painted a very different picture to the Deadvlei. A few months ago, massive rainfall ran into the Sossusvlei, filling it up. People were coming here to swim in the water.
So apparently the water was all the way up to the parking lot. That's a lot of water over this.
It has a certain beauty about it, but Deadvlei just spoke to me in a different way. It's time to move on to yet another epic adventure. Rolfie was in his element out here. He was beaming like a naughty boy getting to play in the sand. But he was also getting to see what his vehicle he had invested so much time and money into was capable of. And sometimes you've just got to have a little bit of fun. Fun was indeed had, and while we inflated our tires again, we recounted the epic moments from the morning. We were pretty bushed and would head back to camp for a bit of rest before getting out later that afternoon to visit one last spot.
So we're just arriving now at Sesriem Canyon, and it is one of the worst roads, the worst 3 kilometers I have ever driven. It is horrible. Both of the vehicles is really just shaking us around. It's horribly unstable. But we've been watching rental cars drive up and down this road at ferocious speeds all day. So it's a little bit of what this vehicle has already been through for many years. But yeah, at least we're here. We're going to see what Sesriem Canyon is all about. We're at the viewpoint now. Let's go have a look. This is so cool. So this spot is known as the Sesriem Canyon, and I didn't think it was actually going to be that cool, but it is mighty impressive. It's really opening up now, eh?
What do you think, Adrian?
I think it's pretty epic. It's pretty damn epic.
No, it is yet again unique.
In terms of a walking experience, this is...
A lot better than the dunes.
Yeah, it is. But man, this is cool.
Check the layers of how it's
Yeah.
formed.
I'd say if you ever come, don't miss this. Don't.
No.
I was close. I was close to skipping it. I was tired. and-
You weren't close to skipping it because I was with, and I was not going to let you skip. Here, how we forgot for you.
That looks like that's it. It's the hardest stone.
Oh, that's good.
So we had a really nice time exploring the Sesriem Canyon, and today has actually been a fantastic day. Or shall I say another fantastic day in Namibia. And now we just thought we'd settle down. Sun's going down there. We're watching the sunset over the mountains and stuff around here as well. And just soaking in the scenery. I think we've really gotten into a nice rhythm with our trip now. And this is our halfway point now. And it's a little bit sad in a way. But tomorrow we're going to be making our way through to Solitaire, and then from Solitaire we're going to be heading through to Swakopmund. That's where we'll be spending 2 days just kind of taking a bit of a break from the wilder side of camping, be in a little bit of civilization, see a little bit of Namibian culture, and then we'll be making our way through to Spitskoppe and eventually Windhoek. So, the braai's going. We're gonna make some dinner, have another good evening. The rooftop tents have been absolutely amazing on this trip. The quality of sleep is incredible so far. So yeah, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning on the way to Solitaire.
We have some really exciting adventures ahead of us, so make sure to subscribe so you stay on top of all the upcoming episodes, or you can even join Patreon for early access to the upcoming series. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next adventure.